I have a daughter named Aurelia who's turning 10 years old this April, and I haven't seen her for about 7 years.
If you could go back to the start and not do it, would you choose not to do it?
I wasn't ready to be a father at that time. Yeah, this is the biggest thing I've ever done now, so.
Okay, so Michael, tell us a little bit about your life before coming to Thailand.
So I was working in financial services, and I worked for two big banks. I was living in New York at the time, actually. 5 years into New York, I knew I couldn't continue that lifestyle. And I think I felt like I was on a treadmill. Like I was expending a lot of energy, but I wasn't really going anywhere. And I didn't really like that feeling of wasting time. And then I wanted to kind of move on, but then, my boss at the time wanted me to be happy, and he thought maybe it was a location change. So then I moved to Singapore with the same firm.
And so when you ended your career, did you just throw in the towel and said, that's it, I quit, I'm going to Thailand? Or was it phased out for some other reason?
I was working on some projects on the side, and I think that was during COVID. I did a renovation of my apartment in Singapore, and that gave me pretty big confidence in what I can accomplish as far as a before and after. And then that led to a project in Poland. I'm Polish American, so I spent some time in Warsaw as well. And that was two projects there that gave me increased confidence. And then this resort opportunity came up during COVID, and my business partners and I, wonderful Thai people, we took this on, and yeah, this is the biggest thing I've ever done now. So.
You actually don't have a Thai wife, do you? Do you have a partner, and what's going on there? And then how then do you manage to set this up without a Thai wife?
My wife is Singaporean, and she's been a big part of this project as well. So we have worked very closely with the Thai family. So I have a business structure. So it's basically the 49 to 51% ownership, right? So I'm a half owner of the enterprise, and basically we work together to do it.
So you have to establish quite a lot of trust with people that you're working with, especially when you're deploying so much capital, especially into land, which of course can only be owned by Thais.
Sure.
So how did you meet, and how do you feel about that relationship?
We met after those first 2 days that I was here, and I was hanging out with some musicians. They were doing their thing, playing music. It was a full moon out, and I was leaving that gathering probably about 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. And it just felt like, the universe telling me that
I need to buy some land.
This will be the place to do it. You need to buy some land, exactly. And then the first thing I did when I got back to my bungalow was I Googled land in Pai. I mean, I was familiar with the real estate kind of, process and doing projects before, and this was just a new version of it in a different country with different laws. But I met it with my business partner's husband at 8 a.m. because they emailed me back. I sent the email at 6 a.m. and got the email back at 7:30, and they said come by. So at 8 a.m. I swung in there, had a coffee with them, and
I'm sure in Thailand you've read the horror stories. You've read how this thing
is
like
awesome
the number one.
It isn't.
It's the number one thing that can go wrong, and I assume somehow you mitigate for this, or it's just something you trust that will not go.
Cultivating good relationships. I mean, we've spent a lot of holidays together. We give each other gifts, and really just try to cultivate as good of a relationship as possible. Because of course, a lot of capital has been deployed, and risk management is a priority, right? And any risks that come up, we need to mitigate them with peace and in a Zen way. It's nice. I mean, Thailand being a Buddhist country, I think a lot of that as well is almost karma based. I do believe in that, and I'm just trying to do this as much possible with, the good karma that I have.
If someone was looking to set up here in Pai and they want to buy a substantial, I don't know how many rai we're on here for Hideaway Village.
13 and a half.
13 and a half rai. What kind of price would they be looking to invest in both land and building property?
So I think it depends on the location within Pai itself, but I probably think a rough price that you can expect is 1 million per rai. So if you do the math out on the land here, I mean, we have a lot of water, which, kind of all goes into the calculation. But if, let's just say we're looking at 14 times about, a million, it's 14 million for the land, plus all the structures. I've had an estimate of the place done by a Thai, or just, kind of a few third-party opinions. And I think to do something like this I don't think I'll be ever selling at this point. I've so many blood, sweat, and tears have gone into it, but probably like in the 40 to up range, 40 million baht for this place.
Yeah.
It's a lot to manage. So, you spend that money, and then of course there's a lot to look after afterwards. But yeah, I think about $1 million for a project of this size.
How has it been received, you kind of coming in and developing it? Has it been quite smooth sailing, or have you hit any roadblocks along the way?
I think the people in the village here, they like me. It's well received. I mean, I actually did not build the 3 traditional style bungalows here. They were built about maybe 15 years ago. Quite a nice thing to inherit from the previous owner. It was an English couple that built all this out.
You've come at a time of a little bit of friction in Pai. Do you feel that friction coming in here as a foreigner doing business?
It's a good question. Honestly, I don't feel the friction. I think that the locals get it, what I'm doing. I do everything legally and, do the donations to the right organizations, the charitable causes. So, our name and my business partners are, a well-regarded group of people. So I think there's respect all around. I mean, the tensions are definitely here coming from a certain, type of rambunctious tourist and demographic and maybe age group. I mean, it depends. You could also divide that under, amongst different groups. But if you're here, you roughly know what you experience, But Pai is, I think, a nice mix of everything, Things go through waves. I have heard of, in the past, different types of tourists coming, and then that kind of ran its course, and things will run their course. And, the world itself right now is in a geopolitical tornado. And
a lot of people running away from one thing or another, and Thailand seems to be the place to run to in many cases.
And tying in your point about, capital and, feeling safe. I mean, for me, putting my money here and doing this project with the good karma that we're cultivating, to me, it feels like a better investment than putting it into some paper stocks, or anything else out there in the Western world right now. I mean, I've gone completely, to the Eastern end.
Do you have a plan B, a backup plan if things don't go right? Do you have I'm sure you do have a backup. You seem like a kind of person that has a backup plan. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's backup plans must exist behind it. I'm definitely, topping up, as they say in Singapore, for this lifestyle here of maintaining this. I mean, this is still a cost-based project right now. It hasn't yet returned. For me, I do have a backup plan. I have other investments. And for me, the journey has always been to diversify well and securitize the foundation, the platform of myself and of what I can have, and that's why I'm able to take a bet like this, actually.
Mm-hmm. Do you see a situation to make it profitable in this location?
For this Hideaway Village project, it's definitely not about making money. I would like to probably run even, to be honest, because for all it's worth, it's experience of both guests and myself. This is my home as well here, so I'm trying to keep it as peaceful as possible.
And what do you think was the biggest mistake?
It's probably I am my own worst enemy, actually. As far as, for me, I'll go deep into certain areas, and I've got, when you take a walk around the property, and you'll see there's some things unfinished. So I'll start something and then not finish it, but I have the freedom to do that, which I actually like as well, because then we'll come back to that when the time is right.
I heard an interesting story about how you dealt with the neighbor's trees. You want to tell us about it? Or
I had a neighbor that came up to me and said, you're building a garage and my trees may fall, so I'm going to cut them. But he knew I liked the trees, right? So, and they're beautiful. There are 3 coconut palms there. So he's like, I will cut the tree. And I'm like, no, please don't. These trees must stay. And then so I think it was maybe a communication kind of thing, but more or less a bit of, a bit of this to get it to stay. And I got the message. I started buying the coconuts afterwards, from him. But now we are quite tight. I'll have a beer with him every once in a while.
And you had to pay to keep the trees there, right?
No, in the end, I did. We just buy the coconuts now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just before we continue today's interview, I'd just like to mention our partner on today's video, Safety Wing. As subscribers know, I've been looking around a lot recently at different international health insurance options, and one that really stands out is Safety Wing's Nomad Insurance Complete. It's actually designed for people that are living abroad and spending time between different countries. The coverage works in about 175 countries, including Thailand. One thing I liked about it is you're not tied in to any hospital network, and so if you need to see a doctor, you can use any licensed hospital or clinic that is convenient for you. What's more is, in many cases, they can arrange direct billing with the hospital, so you're not always having to pay up front and then claim back afterwards. It also includes doctor visits, hospital treatment, specialist care, and emergency medical evacuation, which, as we know, can come in very useful. And it can also apply when you return to your home country, which can come in very useful if you're splitting your time between locations. The link for Nomad Insurance Complete is in the description and the pinned comment below, or you can use this QR code here on screen. Now, I also believe a big chapter of your life was being tied up in the family courts in Singapore. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's a very profound chapter in my life, actually. So I have a daughter named Aurelia who's turning 10 years old this April, and I haven't seen her for about 7 years. And again, I take full accountability for not being able to manage that. I wasn't ready to be a father at that time. Which is sad because I had a wonderful partner at that time. She was a brilliant person. It could have been brilliant, but my behaviors and my perhaps selfishness, to be honest, it was really not being in a state of being mindful and aware of what of what I have even. If I think back now, because it was many, many years ago, I had an unfortunate argument that was then the beginning of a downfall within the relationship. I think it's just difficult when you have a situation where you have two opposing sides that are fighting for not a unified outcome. And it took a lot of energy out of me, and I tried to fight it on my own. That was a mistake. I just think it's unfortunate that things had to take that course, that we ended up in the family courts. I would never wish that upon anyone. Even my ex, while we were going through that process, she was stating that, a father should always see his daughter. And somehow along the way, I think it was, we just lost touch. But I think that she would probably want an outcome as well where, the renewed me, the transformed me is there to be a good figure in her life going forward. There's still blood that ties us all together, but it's still a little bit of guilt that I let the situation get to that point. And it's hard to talk about the past in a way that, definitely there would have to be forgiveness from all ends and kind of a good, an ideal ecosystem for that to go forward, of all, parties willing for that to happen. Yeah, but guilt is, I think that guilt will go away if we can, bring it all back together. I've moved on with my life as well, so I haven't made another attempt. But perhaps this is the attempt that I'm making to, in a very raw way, share with you where I'm at, and I'm definitely in a better place now. But that still is a dark cloud that exists in my sky.
It must feel like an unresolved. Sure, scenario.
Because I would love to, initially I couldn't bear the thought of not seeing her because I was seeing her weekly, right? I thought that was unfair initially. And now it would be nice to, even an annual check-in would be beautiful. So, I think all in good time, we'll get there. My daughter now is going to be turning 10 soon. Maybe, coming on this now and how raw and kind of, I haven't spoken about this in a while. Maybe it's, me reaching out now for her 10th birthday and making the attempt. So,
would you have anything particularly to say, or would you to her, or?
I think Aurelia, the love is always there. It's this is a big project. It's not only about you, my sweet daughter, but there's a lot of love, and you're a guiding force of energy for me in a lot of this. So if we can link up, and if you can learn a bit about your father, I think it'd be a nice thing for you to understand a bit more about yourself. I wish this for everyone actually in the world that has a similar situation. It's it's a tough one. It really is. But I think, I've learned through pain, and I think many do. Pain is the best teacher in my view. So, but it's better to not learn through pain if we don't have to, right? And I think that's where reconciliation, can lead to a good outcome.
So when you first arrived, what was actually built on the property?
So we had these 3 bungalows. So they're named after the trees that they are in front of. So that's Frangipani, and then that's Palm 1 and Palm 2.
Here you've put a pool in here.
The pool was here as well, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that you saved an expense then, no?
Yeah, well, the pool was here, but we had to line it and repipe some aspects of it. We put a saltwater chlorinator in. We did that with JD Pools out of Chiang Mai. It was built well. It withstood the earthquake. Definitely the liner, the enhancement that we did helped a lot.
You're not located in a way that leads itself to like going out partying down the walking street, like and going on the pub crawls with all the young'uns. What kind of clientele did you build the place for?
We built it for anyone seeking an adventure, an experience. We have groups that rented it for their 30th birthday party, for meditation retreats, for vegan retreats, 50th birthday parties. I mean, we do it all. It's a matter of co-creation with who wants to co-create with us. And
before this was actually a resort, so these buildings are kind of lucky that they were here. Was the resort successful, or was there any reason why it shut down, or they wanted to sell it? Or
as I understand it, it was an English couple that ran it. It was called Quinlan's Resort. And I had seen some past. If the Quinlans are watching, I am grateful for the structures you put in place, and we've done a lot around it. So we welcome you back as well. But basically, to have a structure like this with beautiful teak wood, it's hard to come by these days. I mean, the concrete tiles.
Were they moving back home, or
I believe that they moved back to England.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we got a good deal. I got a good deal on my COVID purchase. What probably wasn't a good deal is not understanding what comes afterwards and the amount of investment. I mean, definitely, it's again, I stopped counting, but it's twofold over the original purchase price to buy into this place. So,
yeah. Can you give us some examples of things that you just didn't budget for that you ended up having to invest in?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, going back to the pool, it was about $1 million baht to do the whole renovation of that itself.
Whoa.
So that was a little bit less, but that was a significant investment to get that to operating form, because we had some cloudy water initially, and that wasn't really good for the guest reviews.
So that wasn't budgeted.
That wasn't budgeted. I think the extent of my vision wasn't really understood it's been an evolving thing and very expansionary. So I didn't really account for putting this much in, but things worked out in other places, and I was able to do so. But it's also quite affordable, I think, to do many things that, I don't think that people may not realize. So while the pool may be expensive, to dig this pond here, that was a few $100, an excavator. It's things like this that, to answer your question a bit further, that the more deep I got into this project and what's required in permaculture and systems of these types, more becomes aware, and water pumps and filters and all these systems. I never really understood what, really needed to come in place of a project this big. I did it on a micro scale, but now, getting a backup generator, all these kind of things, start filling out.
Costing, right? Costing big. Yeah. If you could go back to the start and not do it, would you choose not to do it?
I've thought about this recently, and I'd have to flip a coin on it, to be honest, because while I'm very, very happy with where things are now, knowing the blood, sweat, and tears, the occasional, kind of challenging points along the way, and if I were to take it pound for pound right now, I would rather flip a coin on it, because I would have loved to do it if it flips heads, but tails, I would have probably been all right having not done this.
Does that mean there's an element of regret?
No, it's still not regret. I think it's just hindsight's 2020. And knowing now what it is. But again, I think it's just so rewarding to be able to walk around and the experiences that we have with guests and, the things that I've been able to benefit from. So a lot has come into my life by planting these seeds. So now it's just about, I guess, harvesting the fruits.
Yep. And what about your room rates? Like, I noticed you got some smaller rooms here as well. Yep. It's like, I guess, for maybe a budget traveler, and then you've got obviously the big family rooms. What kind of rates?
Yeah, so these are more budget-minded. So Maple and Willow Bungalow here, they range between around 1,500 to 1,800 baht. Then we have the more traditional kind of, that's the deluxe offering that we have here, and that's from like 2,000 upwards for the singles. Depending on the season, when it gets really busy, we're about the 3,000 range for that.
Did you hire your staff locally as well, or are they kind of local from the village, or do they come in from Pai? Or
a mix. We've got housekeeping coming in from Pai. Head of engineering and gardening is coming in from Tin Tat, the local village here. So that's my main man, Dang.
Yeah. Thanks for being so open about your story as well. I really appreciate that. And I think the viewers will appreciate that as well. You got any final thoughts you'd like to add, or?
Look, I think we're here doing our thing, and it's always a co-creation, right? So our guests come from all corners of the world. We have a book that they sign, and we just create amazing memories. We have a website as well that explains a little bit more about the ethos. So that's www.thehideawayvillage.com. But yeah, we look forward to meeting all of you.
And hopefully next time I visit, your daughter will be here.
That'd be really, really nice.
All right.
All the best.
Thanks, Michael.